So he had 7 of these bags, and he instructed his wives to pour the water on top of him. So he sat in a tub, and he poured they poured the water on top of him. So alhamdulillah, he got some relief from this, and the temperature of the fever probably reduced down, and he was feeling some relief. So he went to the masjid that time for that dhuhr salah. And on this occasion right here, on this Thursday, this is where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, addresses the Sahaba Ikram. This is for the final time, the final sermon, khutbah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this Thursday. So he sends the member, and again, just want to re-emphasize, reiterate that again, these are the final advices of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the final imparting advices. So even the Rawi of the hadith is Uqba bin Amr radiallahu anhu, and he says that this was the final time that our eyes looked at Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that my eyes fell onto the countenance of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the final time a lot of Sahaba are seeing Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very emotional time, and what advices are being imparted here are what they're really holding on to. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, from where I'm sitting now, I can see the Khawd from here, and that's where I will meet you all again. So this pond of Kawthar, we all know from Surah, Inna A'tainaka al-Kawthar. This pond of Kawthar, this is the pond that on the day of Qiyamah, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will give to drink. Each of his ummatis, he will give water for them to drink from. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all with the opportunity to drink this water. And after drinking this water, anyone who drinks this water, they will never, experience thirst again afterwards. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that I can see the pond of Kawthar from where I'm sitting now, like it's as if it's in front of me. So this is where we were drinking from the Mubarak hands of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So now he starts to advise the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. He says that I personally don't fear that you all will fall into shirk, that you will fall into that a believer, a Muslim, begins to ascribe partners to Allah, that a believer falls into idol worship. I don't fear that. That's not what I fear from you. What I do fear to my Sahaba is that you will start to chase after and run after the dunya. I fear dunya upon you. Look at we have to see the two sides. Most people today, when they pass away, when they're going to pass away, what do they think about? I fear that my family will fall into poverty. My family will have to make ends meet. How are they going to survive without me? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I don't fear. In another hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I don't fear poverty from you. I fear that you chase after dunya, that you follow dunya too much and you get lost in this following dunya. Yeah, we all have to earn money. We all have to make money. But the problem occurs that this becomes the main objective, the main goal is dunya. Where that becomes our main concern. And how can we tell, how can we gauge, if we are keeping deen first or are we keeping dunya first? There's a way to tell, there's a way to gauge. Our yardstick is that when the two clash, when there's a clash between deen and dunya, which one do we pick? When we have a certain obligation of Allah Azza wa Jal on one side, and on the other side we have some need in the dunya, or maybe some business transaction, or maybe some dunya we need. Where do we lean? Do we actually fulfill? It's very easy to fulfill the obligations upon us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we have nothing else to worry about. Well, when there's a clash, when there's a contradiction between the two, which side do we go to? Where do we compromise? So this is a way to tell, and we have to really, it takes a lot of effort to make sure that we choose the deen each time. We choose Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we fulfill our obligations. So that's what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, that I fear that you will chase after the dunya, and not only chasing after the dunya, that you will compete in accumulating wealth and acquiring it, its acquisition. Not only chasing after it, but you will compete with each other. And look at how today how far we've come. Between whether it be siblings or family members or friends or competing in everything you can name, houses, cars, vacations, weddings. Even people are competing in Umrah. Oh, I stayed for 2 weeks, oh, I stayed for 1 week. They would even compete in such levels they go to compete. So this is something that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said at final advices. Be careful about chasing after the dunya, making dunya the maqsad, making dunya the objective, and competing with each other and accumulating it. So this is something we have to take heed from. Final advice is the most pertinent and relevant stuff to our life today. This is what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling us. So after that, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he performed the Asr and Maghrib Salah, and for that Isha, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he tried to come to the masjid, and he got up to come to the masjid, and his wives are helping him, and on his way he fell unconscious, and he was unconscious, and then when he woke up, he asked, did they finish praying Isha yet? So they said, no, they're still waiting for you, the Sahaba are waiting for you. So he took wudu again, and he's getting ready to come, and when he's coming again, he falls unconscious again. And when he wakes up, he says, did they pray yet? So he said, no, they didn't, they're waiting for you. And this happened 3 times. And so he kept falling unconscious. So after this, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam finally says, Muru Aba Bakr falyusalli bin nas. That go command Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and tell him to perform the salah. This is, so after that, we can really see the importance that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is placing on salah with jama'ah. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam up until then was coming to the masjid, trying to come, fighting to come to the masjid, so sick, in such a state, but still he would come to the masjid, and still he would perform the salah. But he had to fall unconscious 3 times for him to finally say, okay, tell Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and he'll lead the people. And in another narration it says that Aisha radiallahu anhu, his wife, she told him, listen, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I know my father is a very emotional person. He's very emotional, and he won't be able to handle it. Tell someone like Umar radiallahu anhu, and he'll pray the salah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, go tell Aisha, go tell Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu that he must perform the salah. So Aisha said, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is very sick, let me just go tell him. So he went and he told Umar radiallahu anhu. So when Umar radiallahu anhu stepped forward, he said, okay. When he went to make the salah, then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam realized something was wrong. So he said, well, who did you tell? He said, no, I just told Umar radiallahu anhu. He said, no, go tell Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu that he must perform the salah. This is something that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is reiterating, making sure of, and make sure Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is performing the salah. And the Sahaba used to say, if Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if we are happy with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu to perform our salah, to lead our salah, then of course we are happy with him to be the Khalifa. If he's someone who's qualified enough to take care of our salah, he's definitely qualified. If he's qualified to take care of our deen, he's definitely qualified to take care of our dunya, which doesn't matter as much. So this was another thing that happened at that time. So while they're making they prayed that Isha Salah. Then the next Monday, on that morning, the morning for the Salah of Fajr Salah. So all the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is still very sick, he can't come to the masjid. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu steps forward and he begins to lead the Salah. And while he's praying, shortly after he commences the Salah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he lifts the curtain from his house and he looks at the Sahaba. So the mihrab is there in the middle. For those of us who've been to Medina Munawwara, alhamdulillah, it's easy to picture. The mihrab is in the middle, and then on the left side, where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is currently buried now, so that's where the house was. So he lifted the sheet from there, he lifted the curtain, and he looked at the Sahaba, and they can see that he's looking at him. And the Sahaba say that they were fighting to stay in the Salah. They were out of so much excitement, they wanted to look, and they wanted to look at Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one final time. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that it's narrated in the report that he smiled, and he smiled at the Sahaba. And after they continued with the Salah, he left the curtain to close, and he went back. So this smile is really important. It shows to us that this is how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam ended. This is the final time Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam looked at the Sahaba. And what was this smile? This smile was the seal, the final seal of approval. That okay, now, alhamdulillah, I have prepared such a strong group of people, such a strong group of my companions, that they will be able to deliver my message, and they can carry on taking forth the message of Islam. That I have done my job, the mission is accomplished, the duty is fulfilled. Alhamdulillah. So again, this was this Fajr on the next Monday. So this is like the second week after Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's sickness commenced, and on that same Monday, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam passed away. A few hours later. So a few more notes just to keep in mind. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, another thing that happened, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he used to recite the 3 quls, every night before sleeping. And he would recite it after every Fajr Salah and after every Maghrib Salah. He used to recite the 3 quls, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu Birabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, in his hands, and he would blow, he would wipe his hands over his body. So in such a sickness, he couldn't really read, he couldn't recite. So he told Aisha radiallahu anha, he requested that she read it and she wipe his body. So this is proper istiqamah, proper consistency, that he would, he had certain actions and he wouldn't even leave it in such sicknesses that he would request his wife to carry on and do that act. So it's something that, how are we, one day we'll do it and then we leave it for 1 week and then, we'll remember, we'll do it one night. So this is something that we should be doing, keeping the sunnah, in our daily lives. And so here after, this is where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam starts giving his final advices to those around him on his final deathbed. So he says, the famous final words of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, As-salah, as-salah, wa ma malakat aymanukum. As-salah, as-salah, take care, guard your salah. Be punctual with your salah, be punctual with your prayers, and be kind to your slaves, and by way of extension, all your subordinates, basically. So this is the final advice. This is the final, thing that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says. So what can we tell from this? That we saw how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was coming to the masjid, fighting through each sickness, and still attending the salah, still coming to the salah. So, and the final thing Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us is our salah, be guard your salah, be punctual with your salah, and umma malakat aymanukum. So, and ma malakat aymanukum, be kind to your slaves. So, ulama mentioned that this statement, this one statement, these 2 phrases, as-salah, as-salah, wa ma malakat aymanukum. These 2 phrases encompass and encapsulate all of the deen. This is the final advice. This is all you need. So, it sounds hard to believe, but then the ulama explained that, famously, Islam is split into 2 types. Whether it's first you have your fiqh. In fiqh, it's split into ibadat and muamalat. Ibadat is your worship side, muamalat again your social interactions. But also you have, Mullah Iqari, he mentions that you have 2 types in the deen. You have huququllah and huququl ibad. The rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights of Allah azza wa jalla, and then you have the rights of people. So as-salah, this is the rights of Allah. Fulfill, meaning by as-salah, meaning guard your salah and fulfill all the rights of Allah. All your ibadat, all your mandatory obligations from Allah, fulfill that. وَمَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ, and be kind to your slaves. This is all talking about all your interactions, all your social dealings. So what is Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying from this? Why did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam choose the wording, of your slaves, be kind to your slaves? So Mullah mentioned here, he's mentioning that, the slave is the lowest, it's your complete ownership. You own the slave. The slave is not its own person. He's not his own person. And of course, Islam, requests that we be kind to the slaves, and a slave owner should treat a slave with certain respect and dignity. But it's still a person that you own. It's still an entity, an owned entity. So if you're kind to your slave, if you learn to be kind to such a, your ownership, your own, property, then how will you treat your wife? How will you treat your kids? How will you treat your neighbors? So if this is why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, and the ulama say that this is encompassing everyone, that be kind to everyone, all your subordinates, employees, whoever it is. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is instructing us that huququllah is one side, the rights of Allah is one side, and then the rights of the people that we deal with on a daily basis. So finally, to conclude, she says that she was sitting there, and finally Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was reclining and resting on her chest, and she put her head and her ear to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's mouth to listen to what he was saying. And this is where he was saying the hadith we mentioned at the very beginning. It says, Allahumma ghfirli warhamni walhiqni birrafiqil a'la. Oh Allah, Ya Allah, forgive me. In the final time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life, it's definitely that he's teaching us. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is infallible, is ma'asoom. There's no sin for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's the Prophet of Allah. sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he's teaching us that no matter what, all throughout your life, be in istighfar, seek forgiveness from Allah, seek repentance from Allah. And next, warhamni, and the third dua Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam makes is walhiqni bi rafiq al-a'la, that join me with the highest companions. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, the famous commentator of Bukhari, mentions that this is the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Rafiq al-A'la, by the highest companions. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is talking about the Anbiya, the Shuhada, and the Sadiqeen. So these are the highest companions. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he's the best companion, meaning someone that, the worst person of the dunya, when they joined Islam and became a companion of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they reached from the lowest stage to the highest stage immediately. So what a companion Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, and he's still making dua that Allah, put me with the correct company. So he's showing us finally the final advice. We should be careful of who we have, our company with. So alhamdulillah, there's many things that weren't mentioned, there's many details that we go through, but many of us are hearing even these final times, these final moments of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam.